What's up, everyone? Welcome to another District Gooner Pod, episode 40. I'm KP, and we have a special one for you today from the bench. Steven, take it away, man.
Howdy. And we got a full house today, don't we? You have someone else joining us?
Let me count the screens I have on my call here. 1 box, 2 box. There is a third box. Who's this guy, huh?
Woo!
Mr. Ron Reyes. Welcome.
Hello. How are we doing?
Doing great. We're getting over the I'm like allergies. How about you?
Me, no, not so much, dude. I got to a point where I can't decide if it's allergies or if I'm just sick now. But that's the line I'm walking. But yeah, welcome, Ron. Happy to have you on the pod, dude. Obviously, we've been looking forward to this one, man. We're gonna be chatting a lot about the running, my co-host's favorite topic to chat about, and happy to have you share the Man City perspective with our listeners. But there's a lot of things to get through, and first of all, I just want to have a quick fact check on the last episode. I said that Japan gifted cherry blossoms to the US after the World War II, and then I just felt like that wasn't right. So I looked it up, and let me just fact check myself. So in 1912 is when the first successful shipment of more than 3,000 cherry blossoms arrived from Japan. And it was a sign of just, relations picking up. First Lady Helen Taft and Viscountess Chinda, wife of the Japanese ambassador, planted the first 2 trees in the northern bank of the Potomac River near the Jefferson Memorial. And then, actually, this was before even World War I. So 2 years later is when World War I kicked off. And it really shows how quickly these things can escalate, huh?
Wow, thank you for the history lesson. Thanks for fact checking us on that, because I did not know either. I knew they came from Japan, but didn't know. 19, how about that? Impressive.
Yeah, dude, history lessons are just a piece of the pie that we hand out here on the pod. So hopefully everyone's walking away today feeling a little enlightened, because the rest of the pod is probably not going to be that enlightening. But let's get into it, man. It's been nice. It's this little quiet period. What's been keeping you guys busy, huh? You've been watching any of these internationals? You got favorite shows that are keeping you busy?
Let me jump in here. No internationals. I watched US Mexico. That was it. But March Madness is here.
Woo!
I got to give a shout out to my Cats. Go Arizona. We're in the Sweet 16. We're playing Clemson, I think, on Thursday. It's a 2-versus-6 matchup. We going all the way this year. Right? Tommy Lloyd gonna take the boys to the ship. It's been a while. I go for the Cats every year. Arizona boy. Love them. We never do it. This is usually here in Elite 8 is when we stop. But this year, something feels a little different.
Something's in the air. Arizona's 6.5 points favorite over Clemson. I like our odds. Clemson beat Baylor. That was a big win for them. So I'm really happy that we don't have to face Baylor. I watched the US-Jamaica match at the end. Ooh. And then the US-Mexico match, obviously, too. And then some highlights. Nothing really going, unfortunately. Especially the friendlies don't really do it for me. It's hard to care, especially when the best sides aren't being put out.
Don't do it for me at all. They really don't. What you been up to, Keon?
Yeah, I mean, speaking of all the Japan influence in the US, I've been watching 2 shows that kind of take place in Japan, actually, but they're a little historic a little bit. So one of them is Shogun, that's on FX and Hulu, and the other one is Tokyo Vice. I mean, these 2 shows have just been keeping me busy. I actually watched a little bit of the England-Brazil game, and I wanted to fall asleep. It was surprisingly boring for the status of the 2 countries playing, but I guess that's the thing when it's a friendly in March and you just know no one's going past 85%, right?
Facts. And you know where they didn't go 85% to complete your trifecta of your Japanese watching? You got to watch Tokyo Drift.
Fast and Furious!
100%. All gas. We drifting. But US-Mexico game. You guys both watched it, right?
Yep.
I watched the first half.
I missed the first half, but I did catch the second. That goal by Tyler Adams, bro. Woof. Woof. Memo
Bang.
Ochoa in the mud.
He hit that so sweetly. His celebration was actually pretty cool afterwards. Like, he knew he hit a banger after that, and his face was like, that might be the best ball I'll hit in my whole life. But it's always great getting a banger goal, especially against Mexico. I think we're unbeaten in 7 matches against Mexico on the bounce.
Vamos.
So that is not always common for us, so pretty happy to hear that.
Ooh, Nelly Doogie. Giving a little barking in the background there. Dos a Cero again. We love to see it. So, what is it? The CONCACAF Nations League, I think. So, it's just all the CONCACAF teams in that. So, I guess it doesn't really mean much. I think U.S. is now 3-peated. Mexico's been bad recently. Don't know what's going on there. It looks like you got Kai in here. Kai scored a goal in Germany. Well, who was it? Germany, France. Kai got a goal. Your boy, your star boy.
Kai can't stop scoring, dude. I don't know what to tell you, man. He's one of those things, man. He's on a roll, and he's just gonna keep rolling, dude. You can play him at left back, and he'll score for Germany. You can play him up top, and he'll score for Germany. Interesting enough, dude, I was just actually looking up Tyler Adams because I know he was at Leeds, so I was curious where he is now because I haven't really heard that much about him this season. And did you know he was at AFC Bournemouth?
I actually just learned that by watching the game and the commentary. He's been hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I think the manager, Berhalter, he only played him. He actually subbed him in against Jamaica. It went to extra time. He subbed him in the second half and then pulled him during extra time. But I think they had an agreement with Bournemouth that he could only play 45 minutes or so per game. So then he got pulled out half of that game as well against Mexico. So he only put in a 45-minute shift. But I like Tyler Adams. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just surprised that he had ended up in Bournemouth and we haven't seen him at all play. But I guess that's starting to make a lot more sense now. A player that did grab some eyes in the Germany-France game was this guy named Wirtz. Wirtz, is that how you pronounce it?
It's Wirtz, if you're German. Yeah, he scored after 6 or 7 seconds. I don't remember what it was, but off the kickoff, he scored a banger. And he's pretty highly coveted in the European market. I know City have been looking at him. I know Bayern's looking at him. I know Liverpool's looking at him. So he's going to be one to watch if he moves on from Leverkusen. But some are saying that he might stay for another year too.
Yeah, I saw his goal, dude. It was a really cool kickoff scheme that they had pulled up. Did you see like the player who kind of passed it back off kickoff, kind of like goes to pass it back and then turns and plays the ball? It was actually directly to him. It was very interesting how they had drawn that up. This guy Nigelmann, right? I think is Germany's international coach. And did I pronounce that right?
It's Nagelsmann.
Yeah, he's good. He's got some tips and tricks up his sleeves. It looks like getting ready for the actual games. That's what I appreciate. At least in a friendly like that, they're willing to try things, not like England, like, oh, let's give Declan Rice 90 minutes at the 6. Like, okay, great. I'm glad you found something out special about this guy during this match.
And let's talk about the England squad real quick. Kyle Walker, oof, hammy issue. What you think?
I saw a report today that the injury shouldn't be a serious issue. I know that he pulled out of the England squad for the rest of the time, and I think he just went back to City to do some work on it. But apparently it's not going to be a big deal. He should be good to go, but that is a worry if he can't.
He'll be ready just in time for Martinelli to test it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, hopefully Martinelli's ready to play that game. So we'll get to the match for sure towards the end of the pod. We're gonna do previews, and then after the previews, actually before we close out, we'll have another round of Mystery Man for those of you who enjoyed it last episode and wrote into the show. Thank you. For everyone else, let me just really quickly update you on how the ladies of Arsenal are doing. Obviously, the men have been away, but the women had a game against Aston Villa over the weekend. They were losing 1-0 at half and mounted a 3-1 comeback, dude. So shout out to the ladies.
Shout out. One band.
Hell yeah.
Okay. What else should we talk about? We've got some social posts. You guys wanna go over these?
Sure.
Let's jump in.
Oh, I saw this post that was on our Gunners from previous Smile 9278 who said, Arsenal fans who sell or give away their seats to Bayern Munich fans will be banned from all future Champions League fixtures at the Emirates, or they will receive an indefinite suspension. Sorry. So that's just very interesting to me. I know that I saw a game earlier in the season where Manchester United just looked like the away team. It was in Europe, and that was kind of my worry going into this one, is that the Germans are going to find their way in, man. But it's good to know that the club is trying to instill a sort of hardline policy like that. What's your take on it?
I mean, if they're banned for a reason, right? I don't even think this is probably not even a specific Arsenal thing. I feel like this is probably a UEFA thing. If they're banned to come to the stadium, let's set the precedent. Don't let them in.
Yeah, I feel like the season ticket holders would be probably be the least likely to sell to Bayern supporters in the first place. So probably wouldn't be. It's a good line of defense, but if they're going to buy from anybody, it would probably just be from the club specifically, and not necessarily from a season ticket holder. But I know that the season ticket holders do get first dibs on those Champions League fixtures as well.
At the same time, I'm just wondering, like, how do they police that?
That's a good question. No clue.
Like, do you just look at the person's name and then you're like, oh, okay, well, you've only been to previous Bayern Munich games? Or, like, do they start identifying people on camera, for example, wearing Bayern gear, and then they, like, hold them up after the game? Like, where'd you get these tickets? I don't know how they would police it. That's my only thinking on it, is that it feels like kind of a bluff a little bit, because, like, how are you going to police this, bro?
Yeah, I wonder if they actually check the ID of the person that is using the ticket, right? Like, if you have a ticket assigned to a season ticket holder, do they check your ID to make sure that you're the person that's coming to claim your ticket for that match in particular?
Good point. Okay. I have another post here, also from our Gunners, from Based Sims. Shout out to Based Sims, who says that 3 members of Arsenal's Ashburton Army were handed 3-year banning orders for tragedy chanting during the Liverpool clash. So I guess if they can police that, they should be able to police the other one, right?
Yeah, I love it. Like, I love that. There's no room for that stuff. Like, no one wants to be sitting there as a spectator listening to that. I think of Vinicius and at Real, like, all the racist chants. They don't do anything. Like, they're having such a hard time. I feel like they act like they care, but this is something that you do to prevent it. You actually have to take a stance to it. Like, no, 3-year ban. I mean, that's serious, right? An Ashburton Army person, that's probably someone that goes to almost every home game. So that's a serious stance. It's unacceptable. So I like it.
That's something you hear a lot, right? Like, I feel like, City have had a person banned in the past for mocking that tragedy. There's been United fans, I feel like that's such a weird tribal thing to do as a fan, to mock someone dying. I mean, I love my club, but would I use somebody else's tragedy to prop myself up? I don't think so. I don't see a world where that exists. So good to get those people out. They're weird. We don't need them as supporters in any club. Just get the weirdos out.
Yeah, get the weirdos out. I mean, in a way, I just don't understand it. This specific tragedy is very interesting that they keep going back to it. It's like, it was like 40, half the people chanting about it weren't even alive when it happened. So I don't really understand it, to your point, man. I don't get it.
It doesn't make any sense. Watching the US-Mexico game, this is something that happens every time, right? And they say they're going to make a stance against it. So Mexico chants a homophobic slur every time the opposing keeper takes a goal kick, every single time. And CONCACAF takes a stance of like, oh, we're going to warn the crowd, and then we're going to stop the game. And then if we have to do it a third time, then the game is suspended or canceled. So by the time they actually took any action, it was like the 90th minute, and they stopped the game. It's 2-0 at this point, +6. They start playing again at like +6 at 6 minutes. Of course, do they stop? No. So it happens again. happened like 3 more times, and then they finally pause the game again, continue, and then they finally blow the whistle. But it's like, it happens every time Mexico plays. So it's like, what the real stance should be something like what they did with Bayern. Just don't let them in the stadium, right? You have to make that stance. And here in America, the whole like checking your ticket thing, I don't really think that's a thing. Like, I don't know how you would regulate that. Obviously over there they have a system for it, but over here there's not. But you know what's going to happen every game. You got to find a better system.
Yeah, I mean, at least that one, to be fair to them, like, it has some kind of a mental effect on the players. This one, like, you're chanting about a tragedy, like, you're just not affecting anyone. You're not affecting the game in any way. I hear you. I don't think they should be doing it. My point is just that at least it, like, has a little bit of a mental effect on the game. The other one is just, you're just bitter about an old tragedy. Why are you doing this? That one makes 0 sense. This one, like, it's like, all right, 25%. I get why you're doing it. It's just silly.
I think CONCACAF should take the lead from UEFA there, right? Where you ban some of the away fans, or just don't hold friendlies or competition games in Mexico or whatever country this is happening in, right? You know, that's when change, I think, will really happen, is when they're not making money from X, Y, and Z game and the fans aren't allowed to attend. Maybe that will actually kick them into gear a little bit, because the warnings don't do anything. Especially if they're losing, the Mexico fans don't care. And fans in general don't care. Like, if they're just going to disrupt the game when they know the game is lost, like, they don't give a crap. So, I mean, the warning system is good at heart, but, like, what does it really do? It doesn't really do anything, especially in the 90th minute when the game's already over. And it would be nice to just blow the whistle, but they chant 2 or 3 times and just go through the whole rigmarole.
Yeah, I'm not like likening the two situations, but what I am saying is the ban, like a 3-year ban, that's serious. Like, that is a significant thing to do, right? If you want to take this out of the game, like, obviously making fun of a tragedy and chant, like, that's a whole different situation, I think. But the actions that they're taking are really going to promote it from not happening, right? It's not a whole section of fans like yelling these things. I think it's a select few members. So, kudos to them. Is all I'm saying.
I hear you, and I totally agree with Ron. I think you gotta issue the war. You gotta stop the game in like the 10th minute. That really sours the mood. Not like, I mean, after halftime, I mean, everyone's only just gotten more beers into their system. They're only going to be retaliating at that point. So I totally hear you, man. All right, well, let's turn our attention to the Premier League now. We've got some good discussion points to go over. The first one being, we're just going to jump into this, man. Both feet in, end of season predictions. Obviously, we've been kind of sharing these throughout the year. By that, I mean, I think in the beginning of the season, we had 1 or 2, and then midway through, we had a little bit. So it's nice to sort of sit back on it all now, knowing that there's 10 games left. There won't be a lot of shifting in people's places. And let's start with the big question of who you got winning it all.
Well, I'm only going to pick one team, and it was always going to be one team. I have City winning it all. And that's not because I have maximum confidence in the squad right now, but it's because in the last 3 years, they have been in a position where, especially last year, been in a position where they've had to turn it on for March, April, May, and they have. They have the mentality to do it. And so I feel pretty I feel good about City possibly winning the title this year. The Premier League title, I should say.
Fair. I just looked up the odds, actually. So odds to win the 23-24 season, City is up. They're plus 110, Liverpool at plus 200, Arsenal at plus 275. Obviously, this is before the game with City, so it could change. But if I was betting, I think City's in the driver's seat for the reasons you just stated. City is absolutely in the driver's seat. I guess I could say it's theirs to lose because they are in the position, like you're saying, like they can just rattle it off. They've done it time and time again. We've seen what teams maybe like us last season races with Liverpool where they think they're in it, but they don't actually get a sniff. It was actually done before they even knew it, right? Cold-blooded, basically. So I think it's City's, personally. It will be a good race. There are chances to slip up for all teams. I will say that, especially with Champions League, with Europa League. I expect Liverpool to keep going through. Good tie versus Madrid for you guys. All of us have to play Tottenham. That's always a worry. All of us have to play Wolves. That's a worry. So there are good games coming up. But I think City's in the driver's seat, personally.
Well, we are sitting top with 64 points on goal difference right now. Going into that 1 point gap is minimal, right? And they are the reigning champs. I mean, they're coming off of a three-peat. So to sit here and say it's not theirs to lose, you're just you're being tribal, as one of my co-hosts would say. So yeah, I mean, who I got, still back the boys. I feel like we're in a much, much better position than we were last season going into this last 10 games or so. And I think the script is flipped a little bit because City came to the Emirates, smacked us up 4-1, and that was it. After that game, you just knew that the heads had dropped and we were not going to kind of get to the place that we need to be. And this time around, it's us going there. But there's also this interesting question here about how will you feel if your squad comes up short? Because I think for us, Steven, it would hurt a lot more than not getting a 4-peat, right?
I agree with that. There's a lot to take. I think there's a lot of positives to take. Back-to-back seasons. Like, this is now who we are. I think we've solidified ourselves. Like, we're going to be here for a few years now. We're going to be in the challenge. So that's awesome. It is tough. I think you're having a great season and you got two teams. We barely have any breathing room, right? We have no breathing room. Let's just say that. There is no breathing room right now. So yeah, it will hurt. To say that we're not used to it, I've been hurt before. So it's nothing new, but yeah, it will definitely hurt, man.
I feel like from the City perspective, it depends on how we come up short, if we are to. If, we lose against Arsenal over the weekend, and then the next game after that, I feel like most people would think at that point, okay, title race is probably out of our hands at that moment. We'd be 6 points behind, 7 points, or I don't know how many points, a significant amount of points behind Arsenal at that point, and Liverpool if they win their 2 games as well. So I think that would be easier to take because there's the FA Cup and the Champions League that can be focused on as well. So, you never know how those 2 cups are going to end up. But if it's a last day, and we need to win and we draw or lose to lose the title, I'd still be pretty devastated by that because it's in your hands start of the day and then it doesn't happen. That obviously would really, really be horrible. Aston Villa a couple years ago when we were down 2-0, I thought that was it. I thought we were done. Ended up winning 3-2 and winning the title, but still that feeling was really, really crappy. So even if we don't, even if we won the last 3, I think it would still hurt, but maybe not as much.
Now imagine being a Liverpool fan watching that. Ouch.
Zoe.
That's one thing I'll say. I hope selfishly, I hope that everything goes down to the last game of the season. If it doesn't, hopefully Arsenal have secured it by 3 games to go. But the other way around, I would want everything to go down to the last day. And we'll see. Because that's the beauty of it. I mean, 3 people going for the title on the last day. I can't remember the last time that happened.
True. Do you think that hurts more or less? I guess this is for Keon specifically. Would you rather it be like the previous season? So previous 2 seasons we missed out on Champions League because we fell apart. Last year we lost the title because we fell apart. Would you prefer to fall apart again or lose it on the last day?
I'd rather lose it on the last day. At least for that I can justify it and I can say, you know what? Like, we went until the very freaking last whistle, dude. And that's all you got to ask for. Other seasons, yeah, those hurt a lot more. Because then it's just like, why am I even watching this? Like, this last game of the season, why am I watching this? I'm tired of these, like, guards of honor, dude. I don't want to sit through another one.
It depends on where you are, 1, 2, or 3 on Championship Sunday, right? If
Sure.
you're 1 and you lose and you don't win the title, that's horrible. If you're 2 and you win, but you don't win the title because you're 2 and number 1 won, I think that's something that you can swallow a little bit more. But like, think of oh my gosh, I just don't wish it on anybody. The memes, the commentary on, City had it going into the last day. Honestly, I don't think City would get as much flack for it, unfortunately, for you guys as Arsenal would if Arsenal were winning at number 1 spot and then they were to lose. That'd be horrible for you guys. And the banter and the commentary and all the memes and stuff, I don't wish that on anyone except United or Tottenham.
The media is going to have us either way unless we win. They'll have us any way they want us.
True.
But I would rather, I don't want to fall apart. I just do not want to fall apart. I'm hoping this is different, man. 2 years experience now. 2 years where we did fall apart. Last year's experience. The only difference is now Champions League, but I'm hoping our squad can bandage up every week, play on those 3-day rests, come out early. None of that late game heroic stuff. Let's just come out, put them away, get Reece Nelson and them boys on.
Reece is the new closer, dude. You see that guy come on, you know it's a wrap, bro. All right, let's talk a few more predictions around the league, dude. So who do you have as your top 4? 10 games remaining.
I guess let's just talk about 4th place. I think first 3, right?
Sure.
All solid
right
on that. 4th place. So we got Villa, Tottenham, and United. Villa's currently at 56. Tottenham's at 53. United is at 47. I want Villa to do it, but I don't think they're going to do it. I can see them falling apart here at the end. I'm going to say I actually think Tottenham squeaks in. I do.
Same. We were talking about how Tottenham, we play all 3 of the top 3 teams at this moment play Tottenham, but all 3 of us also play Villa.
Ooh.
So that has, potential damage for Villa coming into that, right? Tottenham just played Villa and beat them pretty handily. So maybe that comes into play as well, where mentally they're a little bit more on the up and up. I don't know if I trust Villa to get a result on all 3 of the top teams at this point in the season, as I would with Tottenham. I think Tottenham would be a little bit more safer of a.
Yeah, no, that's all fair. I agree. I think Tottenham get the 4th place and Villa end up finishing 5. I think my dream scenario is that Manchester United finish 6 and the Premier League gets the 5th spot for Champions League.
Mm-hmm.
That's my dream scenario, and then I want to see if that guy keeps his job or not based on that.
You devil. That's funny. All right, how about relegation? Who you got? I think one of them's already done. 2 of them are already done. But that 3rd spot, it's up in the air.
Oh, Burnley just won, dude.
I don't see that happening for them. Sorry. So we got
I don't either.
We got Forest at 21, Luton at 22, Everton at 25, and Brentford actually at 26, who have been dire. They've been terrible lately.
Yeah, and I mean from those 4, sorry, just to jump in, from those 4, we don't even know if 2 of them are going to be there's it's the district, baby. We got the roly out here, man. But from those 4 that you just listed, we don't even know if 2 of them are going to be handed any sort of extra point deductions. So like Everton and Nottingham Forest are still up for potentially being deducted more points.
That is right. I didn't even think of that. Oof. I just hope Luton stays up. That's all I care about. I want Brentford to stay up, and I want Luton to stay up. Everton down.
Yeah. I think it'll be the bottom three currently, especially if the appeal doesn't work out for Forest. I think it'll be Forest Burnley. But it'd be cool to see Vincent Kompany coach his boys to safety, but it's probably not going to happen, which is sad.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's got it. We'll find out. I'm beyond the record here saying that Vincent might be another one of those new recent managers whose tenure will be cut short, and he won't have a long-term success as a manager. We'll see. We'll talk about that 10 years from now on District Gooner Pod when Vincent Kompany has lifted the Premier League trophy. I'm sure of it, but maybe not. I'm with you, though. I also hope Luton stay up. Luton's actually, it's one of the games coming up for Arsenal that worries me personally. Those guys, you just don't know what you're going to get, and we love a shootout, so who knows how it will go. But I'm hoping Luton stay up because there's a couple of players on Forest and on Everton that I want.
Yeah, and this is why the Premier League is so great. I think we all have to play some of these lower teams. So we have to play Luton, I believe. City have to play Forest. Teams that are going to be fighting for their lives, right? So it's that throw the conventional game out the window. Do everything you can for a win, a draw, playing for a point, anti-football. We're not playing to win anymore, right? We're playing not to lose this game. I think that changes a lot. Teams like City have in the past obviously proven they can get past it. I think we've turned the corner, right? And we're a little bit different. But the way Liverpool play, the way they play so open, so fast, these teams might be able to catch them on the counter. That's why it's I guess this league can be exciting when it's tight like this.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I mean, speaking of playing some of these bottom half teams towards the end of the run in here, these last 10 games, I have a question for you off the dock, dude. Who do you think is the one player on your team that you just cannot afford to lose over these next 10 games in the Premier League? Who's the one key kind of playmaker for you that you have to have in the squad?
Ooh, I'll take that. I'll go with Martin Odegaard. I'll go with the captain. He's the engine. I think he's the engine. He makes things happen both offensively and defensively. Offensively, all over the pitch. Defensively, from the front. He's the engine that makes us go. So that's my guy.
For City, I think there's only one answer to this, and we've seen what his absence can do. It's Rodri. Rodri is by far the most important player on this squad. Everyone else is replaceable in some way, shape, or form, or the other players have the ability to do the duties of those other players, but we don't have a strong number 6 that would take place everything that Rodri does for us. And it's not even just in holding and defending, it's also in what he does for the attack too, what he creates. And so we would need 2 players to play in the middle of the park to do what Rodri can do by himself. So if he goes down, the season's over, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, you guys should have kept Calvin Phillips, dude.
Yeah, he's doing so well for West Ham.
No, I agree with you, Steven. I also think for Arsenal, it's Martin Odegaard, especially as you talk about some of the dark arts of defending that come in, the low block in the last few games left. There is not a single player on this team that can help unlock a defense like that than Martin. And we saw that against Porto. There's no one on Arsenal that would make the pass that he made. So I'm with you fully on that. Okay, let's move on to our next talking point. So speaking of relegation, players coming up to grab within the Premier League potentially, I wrote down this question to see what you all think, and it's about getting a sense in the summer. Obviously, Steven, we've talked about Arsenal's transfer policy, trying to sign from within the league. City have been doing that consistently, it feels like. I mean, even this past year, they signed Mateus Cunha, or right? Nunes from Wolves, who right. has barely played, but they paid 40 million just to take him away from Wolves. So there's situations like that, and I just wonder, who are 5 players 3 to 5 players across the league that you would take as a signing in the summer for your squad? And maybe we can start out with Ron for this one.
Yeah, so I did do 5 players, 2 in the midfield, or 1 in the midfield, 3 wingers, and a central defender. So starting with the wingers, and we wouldn't sign all 3 of these people, but it would be who I would want if we were to sign a winger over the transfer window. Michael Olise from Crystal Palace. I think that he plays the right wing a lot like Mahrez used to play for us. Still young, injury concerns, so that's a little bit worrying, but I take him. I take Pedro Neto from Wolves, who I think is super dynamic. Also some injury concerns this season. I don't think it's been that way for his career, but this season has been a little bit rough for him. Mitoma, who ironically, again, is also injured. So maybe I have to rethink my strategy here. But he's also just super good, super dynamic, really good on the ball. I also put Branthwaite, the Evertonian defender. I think he's really good center back.
He's having a little breakout of a season, man.
Yeah, and he's really confident on the ball. He still young. He got bullied by Haaland when we played against him. But you can learn from that, and everyone gets bullied by Haaland anyway.
Not everyone.
Yeah,
go on.
Yeah, okay. And then the one person that I would really want, if I were to choose from all 5 of these folks, is Paqueta from West Ham. We are heavily linked with him already. We would have signed him over this last transfer window if he didn't have the gambling allegations. But yeah, Paqueta I think fits exactly what we would need in the middle, and would be a great player for us.
Wow, dude, I think Mitoma on your list is the one that surprised me. Maybe it's because he's been hurt as of late and hasn't really been playing that much. So he wasn't on top of my mind at all. But I like your list. Yeah, I mean, the point of it is like one from those 5 players you'd want to see. So I hear you. What's your reaction, Steven?
No, I'm gonna throw it to you. I don't want to steal your thunder. Go ahead, KP.
Yeah, it's hard. I didn't write down the players that I wanted. I was just gonna kind of go off the rip, dude. Cuff. Yeah, so I'm looking at the stats right now to see like who to pick. I did want Paqueta. I know that one for sure. I think if he plays as the left center mid, it would be pretty amazing. I think him and Declan and just Martin would be awesome. From within the league, Paulinho, I think is another one that comes to mind. We've been linked with him a few times. Left footer, I like him. I think Morgan Gibbs-White. That's my boy, dude. I'll take a Morgan Gibbs-White, especially if we don't sign a proper striker, that we're gonna spend like 100 mil on. I'll take a Morgan Gibbs-White to help out with some of the goal scoring. Let's see, there's 2 left. I think I'll take Ollie Watkins, to be honest with you. If I have to choose a striker from within the league, I find it very hard to believe that Isak would be sold. So that's why I didn't put him on the list. I would like him, but I'll take Ollie. And who else? I think Olise is a good shout. I would like him from Palace, yeah.
Okay.
I think Isak might be sold. Newcastle has to make some sales this season, especially since they're not going to be making the Champions League or the Europa. It seems like they're going to be in some financial trouble, so they'll need to part ways with a few big names. So don't cross Isak off your list quite yet, and he's quality.
Oh, don't cross him on your list because he's on my list. I have Isak for that reason. I wouldn't have had him on my list, but I've seen things that Newcastle have to sell players, and Isak is one of those players I think that could potentially leave. 2 of the same guys as you, Paqueta, Morgan Gibbs-White. I had him as well. I think Morgan Gibbs-White could probably play out wide. I think he could probably fill the Saka role, if needed.
I actually see it more of like a Trossard type player, dude.
Yeah. I think he could play He can play the 9. He can play the left 8, I'm sure. I think he could play on the wing as well. I think he's just an attacking-minded player. Douglas Luiz, I have. Yeah.
Wow.
Former City player.
6 option to have. And this one is my wild card. It's a player that I really like. You guys are going to be like, what the hell, man? Yohan Wissa from Brentford. I like him. I think he would be a very good soccer replacement. Not replacement, but like substitution. He could fill that role. He can play up top. He's a striker that plays out wide. Very pacey. Presses really, really well. I just think he's 27. I looked up his age. He's 27. So he'd be like the Trossard type player. He's coming in for one goal. I just want to win. I can give you a few years. I will give you my body, basically. Like, that's how I see if he came into this team. Good price he would come in for, I know. So he's my wild card. I think he could do something for us.
Dude, that's a really good wild card. Hear me out here. This is a wild card from outside of the league. I'm just going to go like full on theory here. Imagine the mailroom. Imagine the scene from Always Sunny, dude. And I think with Mbappe going to Real Madrid, with Vinicius there, I want the one they call Rodrigo. If Arsenal pick him up as a as a good substitute for Saka, someone with Champions League experience, that's my absolute wild card from outside of the league. But let me ask you this, man. Since you mentioned Newcastle have to make some sales, this is a question for both of you. Arsenal supporter, Manchester City supporter, Bruno Guimaraes. Arse in or arse out for your club?
Dude, he's all the way in for me, honestly. I would have had Bruno G on my list if it weren't for Paquetá already. They're not exactly the same player by any means, but I think Bruno G, as much as I hate playing against him because he can be a bit ratty at times and definitely aligns himself with the dark arts, I think he is pretty quality. I would take him in a heartbeat for the right price, of course. Not a crazy price for him.
I'm arse out. I wouldn't want him.
Yeah, I might stop supporting us if we do that, dude. I'm with you, man.
But the attitude for me isn't right. If he just, I don't think he would fit in our team. His attitude is incorrect. He's the kind of guy I think that puts his head down when you're going through a tough time. I don't like him.
Well, there you have it. That's the difference between an Arsenal supporter and a Manchester City supporter, and you can take that to the bank, dude.
Yeah, one Arsenal supporter said that they would stop supporting their team if they signed a player.
Potentially. I said I might.
I wouldn't.
There were no hard lines drawn for on the record, dude. But I hear you on that as well. But I'll just say, yeah, I wouldn't be too excited about all the games. I feel like that's the thing about it. So let's get into the big match, shall we? Shall we talk a little match preview? To be honest with you, listeners, we are recording on a Monday, but this is probably not gonna hit you until a Wednesday, maybe a Thursday. So do hope you're having a good week and looking forward to the big match at the weekend as Arsenal go to the Etihad on Sunday to take on Manchester City in the last game of match week 30. Prime time, dude. Prime time.
Prime time. I have a question for you guys before we get into it. I was thinking about it a little bit, and I'm having a hard time, I guess, picking the frame, in which I think this fits. So, American sports, obviously we have playoffs, regular season. How would you liken this game to fit into like that American construct? Regular season games here usually don't matter as much. NFL probably is where it would fit, but a game of this magnitude, so we're talking about the outcome at the end of the season, I think this game probably has some pretty big implications on that. How would you liken this game to if you were going to put it in the American sports world?
Yeah, I had two potentially that would kind of have similar feel. The first one is going into NFL playoffs. If the number 1 seed and the number 2 seed in the AFC or the NFC were to play against each other, and that game would determine who's the number 1 seed for the playoffs. Because the number 1 seed would have the bye, has a better of a chance moving forward, would have all the home games and so on and so forth if they were to continue on. If they win throughout the playoffs. That seems like, I guess it would kind of fit the bill. American sports are hard. But the other one that I had in the spirit of March Madness was kind of like a conference title game, right? So you have like the Pac-12 title game, the Big 12 title game. I almost liken it to that championship game before March Madness even starts. You know, if you win that game, if you win your conference game, perhaps you have a little bit more confidence moving into March Madness and the national tournament as a whole, but it's still kind of a stretch.
Yeah, I like that one. I think it's so hard with the sort of league system and how much it's mismatched with the way America approaches sports in general and just franchises, right? But I also felt it was March Madness that was the closest thing to it. But for me, it's the game. So how they do March Madness is like you have 64 teams, right? That make it. But usually 60 teams are seeded. And then there's these, like on the bubble, the play-in teams. I liken it to that match that if you win, you're in the tournament. And you get that like 14th or 13th spot. Because it just feels like you win, you're in the tournament. And from here, you have to just win the next like 6 games, and then you get to win it all. And that was the closest thing to it from like an American perspective that I could see. It's just, I thought about basketball, I thought about football. I mean, basketball, I was just like, oh, it's like comparing it to the game 4 of the 7-game series in the semifinal. Like, it's just ridiculous, dude. It doesn't match up at all, man.
It's tough. It's very interesting to put it in that context. NBA, I would say it's like a 2-2 series. Game 5. Whoever wins game 5 typically wins the series. So you could liken it to that. It's no regular season game, but also this game isn't. If you lose it, it's not like your season's over, right? You still have a chance. So, like you're saying, Ron, I think that's good. You could even do NCAA football, like the SEC championship game. Like who was it? Georgia and Alabama this year. Alabama won, and Georgia didn't make the playoff. So it's like, that's maybe too high stakes, but it is interesting because this is for being a regular season game, this is just, it means a lot, I think.
What I would add to that is for this game, to your point, if you lose, it's not that your season's over. It's just out of your hands now. Now you have to start looking, well, where are they going to start dropping points? What games? But like, that's why it compares closely to the March Madness thing. It's like, if you win this game, you're in the tournament and everything is in your hands from there. That's how it feels like. We win this, the league is in our hands, dude. And then hopefully it doesn't slip out, but you never know, right? So the game at the weekend, right? Big implications, obviously, win, lose, draw. How do you feel? Let's start with predictions before we get into lineup. Just like, what do you think will be the score?
I'm going to go with a draw. I think it'll be a draw. I'll probably say it's like I want to say it's just 1-1. I don't think there's going to be a lot of fireworks, personally. City's always good for a goal. They got Holland. They're always good for a goal. I do think they're vulnerable, as we've seen versus Liverpool, that United game. I think that they're vulnerable. So hopefully Arteta's cooking something up. But 1-1 draw, to me, it seems like a likely outcome.
1-1 honestly does feel pretty good. I'm not super confident in the squad as a whole right now going in this particular match. I think Rodri will be very excited to play this game. I know that he didn't play in the last match at the Emirates. I think for me, I'm gonna go for a 2-1 just because it is at the Etihad. You know, I think we play differently at home than we do away. I think we'll be up for it. I think this will be a good indication to whether we're up for the title race as a whole. If we win this, I think that we go and win perhaps the lot. But yeah, I'm going for 2-1, but 1-1 sounds pretty good too.
So I have to disagree with you, Steven. I think there's going to be a lot of fireworks. I'm speaking with my heart here, man. And I actually think from the first minute, we'll probably start singing. Stadiums are empty. Everywhere we go, baby. And I think 3-2. I think 3-2 Arsenal win. And it's a 2-0 at half. I think it's a 2-0 at half. I think you come back, you make it 2-2 in the second half, and then we get the winner. So that's how I'm seeing this one play out.
I just don't think there's going to be fireworks, man. Watching City play Liverpool throughout the years, not a lot of fireworks in those games. The first game we played this season, not a lot of fireworks. I do think we're ready to handle them. Remember last year when we went to Etihad? Oof, we got played off the pitch, man. You remember that? Balls into De Bruyne up to Holland.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening again. I really don't. There ain't no way. Ain't no way. Put that one down. Ain't no way that's happening again.
I will say, when you bring up the Liverpool matches that we've had, like in the run-in before, I think this situation changes it so much because there's a third team, right? If it was just Arsenal and City, and we're the only two teams going for it in the run-in, I think Pep and Arteta probably would be a little bit more comfortable playing for a draw if that's how it's drawn up, right? Like 20 minutes to go, it's a 1-1 cagey affair. They're not putting on crazy offensive subs to go for the match. But since Liverpool are in it, and since Liverpool very much pose a threat to the title as well, I think both managers will feel a lot more encouraged to go for a win here. So I could see both teams going for it, which is not something that's been common.
That's a really nice way of putting it, man. Let me ask a question of Steven. If Arsenal lose by a margin of 3 goals, is that it? Do you think? Is that just done mentality-wise if it's a margin of 3?
I would not be happy, first of all. I can't see that happening. Oof, man, if we lost by 3 goals, I think that'd be a big mentality hit for sure. What happens? The tape starts to play, right? The VCR just went in. It's crackling on the screen. It's happening. Uh-oh. Did we rewind the tape? Or are we in the credits again? Just continuing to play the same song, man. I wouldn't feel good about it at all.
I actually think if we lose by a margin of 2, it's just as bad. I think if we lose, it better be a margin of 1, dude. If it's more than that, that feels like we got freaking outplayed and outclassed again. And that would hurt.
It would depend on game state. Like if it was a 1-0 game and then we're pushing at the end and then they put a 2 on us, I wouldn't feel that upset about it. But if it was 2-0 first half and then they just hold it in the second, yeah, I wouldn't feel good about it.
Think about how good you would feel, though, and I'm speaking as a City fan, which would be horrible for me, if you won by a margin of 2 or 3 at the Etihad. That would be, I imagine for Arsenal supporters, it would feel like a passing of the torch. Whether I agree with that or not, I don't agree with that. But that would be a very cool feeling, I bet, for your supporters.
Absolutely, man. It would be planting the flag. I think it's just we're establishing who we are. I would look at it like this. 6 points against City, we took them all. 6 points against Liverpool, we took 4. That's a huge return. That's a huge return in the title race. We did our job, right? Against you guys. We just didn't do our job against the Fulhams of the world. So it would feel nice to get the win. So going back, if we do lose the game, Kia, we do lose. City would have 66 points. We're sitting at 64. Do you like our odds? Do you think we still have a shot?
Yeah. I think if we lose the game, I'll be devastated if it's by more than two goals. I really feel that way. I think if the margin is too big and we just get outplayed, I'll be very, very upset. And that'll be a good pod for you to tune in if you want to taste my tears, you know? But if not, and you want to taste the champagne, then we'll have fun too. But if it's a loss like that, I'll get over it. But I just feel like they're going to drop points. I think both teams, both Liverpool and we are actually the only team. So this would be what? I think this would be 9 wins in a row for those of you playing at home. And I think we're the only team that I would back saying the last 10, we could win all 10. And that's on the record for you, bro. That's on the record for you, bro.
Wow.
Lineup predictions, dude. I don't expect you to give me a full 11, but if you have any kind of surprises or any particular talking points on the lineups, hit me with it.
I do have a full 11. I'll just run through it really quickly. It is very similar to what we've been running. I have Ederson, Walker, Stones, Ruben Diaz, Ake. I have Kovacic and Rodri in the middle with De Bruyne. I think Kovacic would be, I guess, the one surprise that you're looking for. I'd have Bernardo on the right, Haaland up top, and Foden on the left. So I would go against playing Doku or Grealish. If Grealish were fit and 100%, I'd love to see him. But yeah, I'm not super confident at this moment that Doku is the guy for the moment.
I guess, Keon, the only question is, who plays left back? I kind of think that's it, man.
Oh, so you're saying Jorginho is in? Because I don't think Jorginho plays.
Ooh, then let's hear it.
I think what will happen is we'll start and Jesus will be up top and Martinelli will be on the wing and Kai will be at the 8 and Rice drops into the 6 spot and I think Zinchenko comes in at left back. Those are the changes I can see.
Okay, that's a good call. I'm a believer that if Jorginho plays, Zinchenko should not play. So if you're going to switch out, if you're not going to put in Jorginho, I think putting in Zinchenko would be a good call. You know what? What about a wild Thomas Partey arriving? Could you imagine?
TP5,
could you imagine?
Dude. TP5 at the 6,
an hour before the game, you pull up your phone, Thomas Partey starting. Oh my days. That'd be so funny.
He's injured 30 minutes in, though. Let's be honest.
So funny. I don't think there's any changes. I think it's just going to run it back, personally. Kai up top. Same midfield, Jorginho, Rice, Odegaard. But I do like your thought. You're probably, now thinking about it, he's probably cooking something up. So you're probably right.
Hopefully. I'll tell you this for a fact, dude. And you can take it to the bank after you listen to this episode, bro. King Kai scores, big man.
I hope
Etch
so.
that into your little stitch, bro. All right, man. Should we have a little fun with Mystery Man before we part ways?
Let's do it. Who wants to go first?
Let me go first. I asked my pal AI to write a little riddle about this player, and I'm gonna read it off. I'll read you the first 4 lines of the riddle, and then maybe you can ask for hints or questions, or maybe then I'll read you the last 4 if it gets too complicated. So this player, the riddle goes as: from the Ivory Coast to the fields of green, my feet have danced where the greats have been. A midfield maestro, both strong and keen, with trophies and titles, a footballing dream. Can you guess who this is?
Wow. I have a guess. Do you have a guess, Ron?
I feel like I did, but let's hear your guess first.
Yaya.
It's Yaya Toure, dude.
Ooh.
Big up yourself, man.
When it was the midfield maestro, I thought it was Gervinho. I thought it was Gervinho.
You didn't think it was Pepe?
That would have been funny.
It's very good. I looked up to see if Yaya Sanogo was he probably wouldn't have fit anyway.
English,
but yeah. I was seeing if he's Ivory Coast, but he's French as well.
So why don't you hit us off, Steven?
All right. Let me pull mine up here. My player was born in 1987. Okay. He played for 3 Premier League clubs. His first club was from 2008 to 2011. His second club was from 2011 to 2017. And his third club was in 2019. Okay. So we're following.
I think so.
All right. In 2010, 2011, he was a Premier League runner-up. He won the Premier League twice in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014 seasons. And he started his career in Marseille. Do we have any guesses at this point?
Mine's a lock because he was my mystery man as well.
Don't do it to him.
Wow.
I've
been hoping we would have the same player, and it's already happened. What is it, Ron?
It is Monsieur Samir Nasri. Do you want to hear my clues for him?
Yeah.
Just for fun. Won the Euro Under-17s in 2004, where he caught the eye of one Arsene Wenger. Always was a drippy player on and off the pitch. And he ended his career at Anderlecht in 2020. Do you remember why he's a drippy player on and off the pitch?
No.
It's because he got caught, one, cheating on his wife, first and foremost. And his wife got on his personal profile and posted that he was receiving IV drips for blood doping. And that he was sleeping with the nurses that were providing the IV drips.
That's funny. These French guys, man, these French national team dudes are crazy.
They're dogs.
Yeah. They got that dog in them. Wow.
I was going to guess Clichy, to be honest with you.
See, I was trying to pick a player that played for both clubs.
Yeah.
I think Ron did the same thing. Boo.
Yeah. Booing yourself, pal.
I had no idea all the stuff about Nasri off the pitch, though. That's interesting, man.
Yeah, you can find the screenshots online of his wife posting all that stuff. It is pretty funny.
Yeah, if you have any questions about that, go ahead and ask questions for the links. Ron will send them out. He will send the links to those websites. Thank you.
He's got all the links, dude. You can count on that. With that, we will thank you all so much for spending time with us, as always. If you like the podcast, please rate or leave a review. It really does help with the algos. Also, share it on social. Tell a friend. It's the best way for others to find out about us. And don't forget, you can write into the show, districtgooner@gmail.com. Ron, do you have a parting way, a little catchphrase you want to drop, dude?
That's a crazy request to put in. See you at the weekend. We'll see you on Sunday. I'm sure texts will be flowing. I'm sure booze will be flowing. And we'll see who comes out on top.
Be easy.